video is broadcast on LSL Podcast Channel. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to the channel.
You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show, 855-40-LAURA. That was Judge Roy Moore last night appearing at a spiritual battle speech where he came forward and said, again, these allegations are false. This is a battle for the soul of the Republican Party, and this is essentially the establishment takedown of the people's choice in Alabama. We're going to get your reaction to this as a blockbuster story emerging that was right under our eyes, actually, the whole time, which is this shush fund on Capitol Hill, speaking of sexual harassment, where on the Hill, now it turns out taxpayers have been on the hook for $15 million, which is a drop in the bucket, when you think about it, given the entire federal budget. But $15 million over several years has been paid out confidentially in sexual harassment and other behavioral settlements for misconduct in the workplace. And this is a law that went into effect in 1995. Chuck Grassley actually was responsible for ushering this through Congress. And it was meant to supposedly give a pathway for victims of sexual harassment in Congress to have a process by which they could feel safe and file these complaints. The problem is when you actually start looking at what is required of individuals who say they've been harassed or otherwise groped, or is that they're forced into this mediation, they're forced into counseling. The victim is forced into counseling, and then they can either file a claim or go to federal court. But is it mandated counseling of the victims? It means more like mandated, we don't want you to pursue this counseling. So we found that out over the last few days. Jackie Speier, who's a big liberal, but I think she is right on this. I mean, this is a problem in Congress. It's a problem it seems like it's a problem everywhere. And now people feel like they have a bigger voice to speak out, and they're speaking out. But, this is the fact that in Congress we have a $15 million payout for these claims. Some of them probably are exaggerated, I'm sure. Are there false claims? Yes. Are they all false claims? I can't imagine they are. And this stemmed from the old Bob Packwood groping incident. Remember the old Oregon liberal Republican Bob Packwood? And Mitch McConnell helped lead the charge to get him out of the Senate all those years ago. We're also going to talk to Greta Van Susteren. She's going to join us. She has a cool new book out, Navigating the Crazy World of Social Media, What You Need to Know. She also has a new app out. It's like How to Apologize app. You can apologize to someone through her app, the Sorry app. But Greta's just always great to talk to about all these issues, and I can't wait to chat with her. Congressman Jim Jordan, who grilled Jeff Sessions, is going to be with us later on, and a lot more. But Raymond Arroyo's with us. Raymond, we're going to get into the Sessions testimony yesterday and so forth. We find out also that the repeal of the health mandate is going to be added to this tax plan, which was a positive development. That was a really good development, frankly. Maybe that will finally put an end to this tyrannical system of Obamacare.
It'll at least unravel the mandate and unravel the heart of the health care plan,
right,
if not the whole thing.
By the way, I had to go to the doctor yesterday, and it was just, I had something I had to get looked at, and I went to an out-of-network doctor. Mm-hmm. So I went to check out. $935.
Better to
I brought
live
it back
with
to the doctor. I
whatever
went in the
malady
back.
was.
I said, "Can I talk to the doctor, please?" I would go up. Oh, she goes through. I said, first of all, like this. I looked down at the bill. I said, "This I didn't even have here. I don't know why this is on the bill." She took that off. She's a really good doctor, but she's like, "This is what I charge." I don't know. I mean, there are not going to be many people like me in business anymore because there's not going to be private practice. She's a private practitioner. I was just like, you got to be kidding me. But the whole health insurance, non-health insurance, lack of a free market in health care, this is why the cost of medical care, and I'm talking, this is kind of a basic issue I'm dealing with, but it's just an annoying issue. It's no reason a doctor's visit with a few minor tests should cost $930. Just ridiculous.
Well, this is why health insurance has become so important and why people are so afeared of losing it, because if, God forbid, you need a surgery, you lose the house.
Right. So we'll get into that as well. Anything in your mind change about the Roy Moore scenario over the last 24 hours? Now, here are the following people who said he should step down: Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, Ted Cruz, Mike Lee. Hannity basically laid down the gauntlet last night and said you have 24 hours to clear up your discrepancies in your statements about now the latest accuser.
It sounds like the old Judge Roy Moore movie.
I was surprised Hannity would show up with the cowboy hat on last night. It was funny. But he hasn't said he'd take a lie detector test. That's the other thing. Like, take a lie detector test. Have the women take lie detector tests. I guess he could do that, but he's not going to do that, obviously. But so, and also the son-in-law, the ex-son-in-law,
This is
the
stepson of the latest accuser, okay, Beverly Young Nelson. Her stepson, Darrell Nelson, has come forward and said he doesn't believe his stepmother. He doesn't know why she's come out this late, and he supports Judge Roy Moore 100%.
I found out that my stepmother was one of the ladies that's accusing Judge Moore of an act that supposedly happened when she was a teenager. Mr. Moore, I support you. I don't believe the acts that she claims you've done. I don't believe it. I've known her for a while now, and I truly do not believe that she's being honest about this.
Well, but what is his personal animus toward the... I mean, I treat him as just like I treat anybody else, okay? I don't know you from Adam. I don't know her from anyone, from Eve. So Raymond focused on the fact that he still had Halloween decorations up behind him in the YouTube video.
YouTube video, yeah. It is November 13th when he shot this. There were two skeletons hanging on either side of him on a fireplace behind him. But a part of that could just be he was very busy, Laura. Maybe he was very busy. It is, it's getting cooler and there are things to hunt.
But
football season in Alabama.
Does he sound... I mean, how does he know? He looks like he's like 25. How does he know what happened in 1970?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. No one knows except for Roy Moore. No one knows with certainty. But that's what's so vexing about this whole case. And now you've got McConnell saying he should step down. They will refuse to seat him if he wins the election. Now, I do have a little problem with that. I think if the people of Alabama decide that they want this guy, good, bad, or indifferent, as their senator, does the Senate and its leadership have the right to subvert the will of the people and decide who sits and represents the people of Alabama? I personally think that's outrageous. The people should be allowed to decide. And I would say that to any pundit, any leader in the House or Senate. It's up to the people. It is their vote. And we may not like it. There are a lot of people who don't like that Donald Trump won the presidency. Guess what? He's the president. You don't get to overrule the will of the people. And I almost feel that same way here. I know there are these charges, but until these charges are proven, or we have a little more veracity to the stories that are being proffered, it's up to the people. They have to decide. It's not a court case. Everybody's right on that. So once the people decide, you've got to live with that. Good or bad.
855-40-LAURA. Now that Ryan, McConnell, others have come forward and basically said the damage is done. We can't go forward like this. And now they're threatening not to seat him when he comes if he gets elected. He's up 6 points in the Fox 10 poll. So he's up 6 points. And whether that's accurate or not, who knows? But is it better to have liberal Democrat Doug Jones, who hunts turkey and deer and all that, is it better to have him in than to have Roy Moore? I mean, I think the Republicans are saying, I guess, yes.
Yeah, no, they would prefer the Democratic candidate because they feel they'll be asked about Roy Moore, they'll have to defend Roy Moore,
well, I also
they'll tarnish the brand.
I think Congress has a 19% approval rating. I don't think Roy Moore has tarnished the congressional brand. Maybe I'll hit that tonight on the Ingraham angle. Who is really to blame for the congressional disapproval numbers? Is it Roy Moore or is it, McConnell and the gang? I mean, look, if I were running in 2018, I wouldn't want to be asked about Roy Moore. You don't want to be asked those questions. You just don't. But they also don't want to have to be asked, why the heck couldn't your party pass Obamacare repeal? You don't want to have to be asked, why is it that you have a shush fund on the Hill? How many of those were Republican congressmen? This is going to keep going. This story about the payouts,
no.
They're going to demand to release the names of everybody who had claims against them. Now it's confidential. We don't know who settled for what.
Well, you
where.
were way ahead of the curve last night. You opened the Ingraham angle with this story. And I was kind of slack-jawed watching this. I'd never heard of it. I'd covered Capitol Hill 20 years ago. I've been covering it all these years. I knew there was an Office of Compliance. I didn't know what the heck it did. But we're going to get into that in the next segment. And not only this Office of Compliance, but the allegations now from Jackie Spears, from Barbara Comstock, and other congresswomen saying a good number of their colleagues, and they know some of them, are sexual harassers, and this goes on all the time. And I guess women who work at the Capitol have come to them, they being female representatives, and complained to them privately, but they don't want to go public because it could hurt their career. So it's a familiar tale. The difference is you're paying for it. You, the taxpayer, are on the hook for the hush money and the payouts and the settlements for this abuse. It smells a lot like the Catholic Church's problems years ago when there were all these settlements being paid. That was coming out of the coffers, and people didn't know about it. And that's as enraging, perhaps a little less so, than the abuse that goes on and the harassment that led to it.
You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show, 855-40-LAURA. We'll take a break. Your reaction to the latest, as it looks like the Republicans are preparing to just refuse to seat him in any instance. The Republican Party of Alabama, in my mind, holds all the keys. Roy Moore is out of money. He has no money. There is no campaign. Doug Jones has signs all over the state. Is there a way, as Mitch McConnell floated yesterday, I think we have the sound, for Jeff Sessions to step in and for Sessions to maybe, leave and become, go back to his old position.
Old job as a write-in candidate.
Mitch McConnell referenced the write-in issue. Let's listen.
Are you encouraging a write-in campaign with Senator Strange?
That's an option we're looking at, whether or not there is someone who could mount a write-in campaign successfully.
Would it be Senator Strange, do you think?
We'll see.
Well, he went on to mention Senator Sessions by name, so we'll play that later on. But it could be Strange. He stays in. But I don't know. This is you know what I have to say? I feel really bad for the voters of Alabama. This is just a bad situation. It's a bad situation. They had the establishment. They got involved early on, and there are too many cooks in the kitchen here. They should have let the people of Alabama determine this. They shouldn't have heavy-footed it. And that's what Mitch McConnell did. He went in there, and Corker got involved and told Trump to get involved, and Big Luther was the guy. And it's a bad situation. There's I don't know what the good. The good outcome I think would be if there was some way that Mo Brooks or Gary Palmer could win in a write-in effort. But with 3 weeks and the holidays here, I don't see how that's going to be successful. 855-40-LAURA. Rockin' a hard place. Don't go away.
I've informed you to leave.
We got to find out whether the people of Alabama choose him or not. Then you explore the various options. But he should not be a United States Senator.
If the choice is between a Democrat and Roy Moore, I'd choose a Democrat.
2018 is right around the corner. Can you believe it? And that means your car is going to cost more to fix on January 1st. That's because it's another year older and parts cost more for older cars. So if you're out of the manufacturer's warranty, get the peace of mind that comes with extended vehicle service protection from CarShield. It's affordable protection that can save you hundreds, even thousands for a covered repair. They even have plans that cover your car's computer, your GPS, electronics, and so much more. So if your car is between 3 and 12 years old, doesn't mean you have to pay high repair bills. You can have your favorite mechanic or your dealership do the work, and CarShield will get them paid directly. Sign up today, and you're going to get 24/7 roadside assistance and a rental car while yours is in the shop. CarShield administrators have paid out close to $2 billion in claims, and they're ready to help you. Get extended vehicle service protection before it's too late. Call 800-CAR-6100, mention the code Laura, or just go visit carshield.com and use the code Laura, and you'll save 10%. That's carshield.com.
It takes a lot for a senator or a congressman to talk about someone needs to step aside because they have engaged in immoral behavior. We are going to tell you the story in a moment of the Office of Compliance at the Capitol that has been paying millions of dollars in settlements and claims.
Scandal.
But Langford is talking about the immoral behavior of Moore. He's got to leave. Well, then half of the Capitol is going to be empty, and we all should go take occupancy tomorroh. This is pretty. Pretty galling.
Is there any? My question is, whose hands are clean here? Whose hands are clean on this issue of culpability? Really, just general culpability of workplace conduct. I mean, all these senators knew this. I like calling it the shush fund because everyone's shh, don't tell anybody. There's these settlements; they're all confidential. Think about that. That's amazing. Let's go to Virginia. In North Carolina, Virginia. Welcome.
Laura, Laura, two questions I have for you, and maybe you can clarify this for me because this just does not sit right with me. With the fifth alleged victim, she claims she was locked in the car and was not able to get out until he unlocked the doors and pushed her out. Well, back in 1977, I'm pretty sure there were pull locks, so she could have, if she wanted to get out. My second thing, maybe you can clarify, yearbooks. They usually were not given out in December. They were usually given out at the end of the school year. So
Okay,
I'm a
Columbo.
little bit, confused.
Yeah, I know. This is I'm not getting to the granular level of the handwriting analysis. Like, this is just...
That was Jessica Fletcher on the line.
Yeah,
I like
thank
that,
you.
though. But she's paying attention.
Angela Lansbury, good for you, Virginia. Let's go to Linda, North Carolina. Linda, go ahead, girl. Go ahead, Linda.
Hi, Laura. I just wanted to say that I agree with everything that Raymond said. I believe in the presumption of innocence. You're innocent until proven guilty. And I think Raymond made a very good point in saying that a lot of people in this country would love to unseat Donald Trump, and that is just not going to happen. That's just not possible. So I find these circumstances very, very fishy, especially coming out as late as it did.
Yeah, I think look, when we survey our callers, and I especially want to hear from Alabamans, we survey our callers, and the first day this broke, it was 100% of the callers were for Roy Moore and against the late hits on these accusations. Now it's there's some attrition, but overwhelmingly still people are for Roy Moore. Oh, the holiday season, do not waste your time on gifts that disappoint. Give the one that keeps on giving, the gift of gorgeous hair. And it's time for the Ovation Cell Therapy's holiday gift set. And this year, it's extra impressive. Everything you need for healthy, vibrant, amazing hair, all in one box, specially priced to save you almost 60% off retail. You buy multiple sets because I'm telling you, you'll see the smiles on people's faces when they get this gift set. It's awesome. You don't even have to wrap it. You can put it right on the tree with a bow around it. Ovation Cell Therapy treatment nourishes the hair and scalp. You know what it's done for my hair? Thank goodness I found it because, the breakage and the difficulty I have very fine hair, and Ovation is awesome. It's great for all types of hair, and it's a great gift because people use it. They use it almost every day. And remember, ovationhair.com. Go there. Select Laura Ingraham in the survey at checkout for the special new customer discount on top of the near 60% savings you're already going to get. Again, ovationhair.com, Laura Ingraham at checkout. And this is great for the holidays or any day. Ovationhair.com. So when they're talking about constituent outreach on Capitol Hill, that members only. Oh no, there's so many bad jokes. You have to worry about the way you write the scripts when you're like members and the members only dining room. Now this is a nightmare. But people like Kirsten Gillibrand, who I'm not really a big fan of. She's been all over the sexual harassment and the military issue, and now she's trying to pursue it in Congress. Jackie Spire. And the Republican women as well. You had Barbara Comstock up there testifying about this and making comments about how people are in elevators. They're afraid to be in elevators with certain people. And joining us now is the author of the new book, Everything You Need to Know About Social Media Without Having to Call a Kid. Greta Van Susteren, my friend, who also has a new app she's going to tell us about. Is there anything else this woman cannot do? I mean, she's an incredible person, and I got to say, Greta, aside from all these kind of depressing stories, you're just one of my favorite people. I mean, Greta, you're just one of my favorite people, period. And I miss seeing you every day. I miss you on television. I just, of all the people in this town, there's probably 5 people that I can point to, and you're one of them.
Well, Laura, the truth, if everyone knew, is that behind the scenes, when you and I, we've had a wonderful friendship, and there's so many friendships in Washington that people don't know about, that they think that we're all at each other's throats. And of course, that what you just read about Capitol Hill doesn't help at all.
Yeah, what do you think about that story about the $15 million?
You know what I thought about? I'll tell you what I thought about first. Is it where did the $15 million come from? Is that taxpayer money?
Yes.
If it is, I never voted to pay money like that. I don't think anybody else did. What gave them the authority to do that? I think that's fraud. I think it's stealing. I actually think that's what we should be investigating. I mean, I don't know if it's Republican or Democrat, but there are a lot of, I know my hometown, Appleton, Wisconsin, could use that $15 million to help things. I think it's outrageous. I think it ought to be criminally investigated.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that, this accountability office could be set up, and the way it goes right now is that if you have a complaint, you file it, and then you're forced into this period of counseling as someone who said you allege misconduct. You go through a period of mandated counseling, Greta, and then there's a mediation, and then you can go forward and file the complaint, or you could file it on a federal complaint.
All right, but look, I know it's a serious problem in corporate America too, but it always bothered me in corporate America, and it's the insurance companies, I think, do it to these corporations. Every time some person was a jerk, typically it was a guy, doing something to a woman in the corporation, we all had to go to class. And I'd have to spend 2 or 3 hours in some sexual harassment class, and I didn't do it. I have good manners. But apparently those classes didn't work for a lot of people. But anyway, this is a nightmare. But I don't like taxpayer money. That's too taxpayer money to pay this stuff is beyond anything that I can stomach.
Greta, the political situation. Before we get to your book, the political situation now with this one race in Alabama is sucking up a lot of the media oxygen. And you can see why. I mean, it has all the salacious details, and it's kind of this southern, conservative, social conservative, and now he's a hypocrite, and they love the hypocrite stories. But just on the media focus on this, Menendez was, the issue came up that he alleged that he was doing underage prostitutes and taking them to Dominican Republic, and not a single Democrat said that he should step aside, even though he's under federal criminal trial for bribery and fraud and all these other charges. It does seem to be a situation where the Republicans do act pretty quickly against their own people when allegations are raised.
Well, if hypocrisy were in the U.S. criminal code, we'd all be in prison, probably, in the media, and probably every politician. Look, I have a couple questions on this Alabama thing. First of all, where was the Alabama media on this to begin with? I don't know, and maybe they were all over this, but I've been so busy with my app and my book that I've just scraped the surface on this. The second thing is that the voters of Alabama will get to decide. The third thing is that if I were more, that I would look. There's in the courtroom, it's not enough just to have a number of accusers. In the court of public opinion, when they start piling up like this, you do have to sort of think of the whether it's decent to stay in the race. And certainly, if you're guilty, it's indecent. Even if you're not guilty, But I guess you don't want people to run away from things. But it just looks it looks so bad for him. And I'm trying to be a lawyer, but it just looks so bad for him, the things he's accused of by different people and bad behavior. And he was a prosecutor at the time. So
at the same time, I always like to keep my defense attorney hat on when I think about this. And there are cases where people lie. I'm not saying that happened here, but I'm just saying, are we going to so chill workplace environment that if you're a man, if you had a choice between hiring a woman now and a man, this environment is a little scary. I mean, someone could say 10 years from now you did something, even if you didn't.
Yeah, but you and I talked about the other situation where we had Louis C.K. a couple years ago when I objected in 2012 to having him headline a media dinner where the media was paying for him, and everybody knew he was. I mean, it was public. It wasn't like I had some secret information that he said the most terrible things about Trig Palin, who's a special needs child, and about women. But the media said then it was First Amendment and that there was something wrong with me not wanting to pay money to sit and listen to him entertain everybody in the media. And now, of course, the media is scandalized. And look, I like Jon Stewart, but he said I read a headline today that he was surprised by this. Surprised by this? That wasn't even a secret. I mean, like now everyone's so reinventing this. We all knew about him. So I mean, there's so many issues that are, we don't want people we don't want witch hunts. We don't want people to be awful to other people in the workplace. It's, the whole thing. I guess if I'm looking for the silver lining, at least we're sort of, taking a look at ourselves.
Mm-hmm. We're talking to Greta Van Susteren here on the Laura Ingraham Show. Now, just to paint the picture for people about Greta. Okay, Greta has always been ahead of her time with technology. Like, some people are, like, they're tech people. I am not a tech person. I am a person who goes near a computer and the spinning ball of death immediately comes up on the screen. Okay, I'm a person who, if you give me a laptop, it will go into that Control-Alt-Delete position. At some point in time, the whole thing will just spiral down. For some reason, technology, they just don't mix. I can't stand most technology. I just want simple things. But you have always been ahead on technology. You at Fox, you always had the latest phone. You knew how to use it. You did the first real blog, I believe, of any personality at Fox. If I'm not mistaken, you did your Greta Wire. You still do Greta Wire, obviously. But you've been way ahead of this. First of all, just for our listeners, how were you always so ahead of tech and where it was taking us? And then we'll get into what people need to know about social media, which is the subject of your book.
It's like it was so exciting to me, Laura. I mean, imagine, like, when I was a kid and I wanted to call home to my parents, I had to pay and I had to call collect. Now in seconds, I can reach around the world at my fingertips. I mean, it's just, it's just incredible what you can do with it. It's just mind expanding. By the way, as for my blog, in case anybody doubts whether I did it myself, just the mere fact of all the spelling errors and it is proof that I had no copy editor.
I remember that. No, first of all, but Greta, I'm still doing this in various settings. I always think Greta the grammarian. Someone said to me, "Well, I was talking to she said this to your daughter and I." She said this to me the other, and I'm like, "Daughter and I?
Man.
What?" No.
I almost corrected somebody on the air once. I forgot who it was. Because I almost corrected a grammatical error on the air. Because the nuns used to pound it into us.
Well, that's why you're so smart, and you got the good Catholic education. That's why you know exactly. You actually had to write a sentence.
I have scars on my knuckles to show it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk.
With the ruler.
So you were just always curious because you saw the great advancements, but you just also have a mind for it. Were you good at math? Were you really good at math and science?
Only when I had in algebra when I had the teacher's answer book. Does that count?
Yes, it actually better than myself.
When I was in grade school, like this is, I mean, now people, and look, I'm not in favor of cheating in school. Let's get that straight. But when I was a kid, kids, sort of tried to outsmart the nuns, and it wasn't the death penalty. It didn't ruin your life. Now it's like, I mean, I'm not advocating it, believe me, not advocating it. But anyway, no, the short answer is no, I was not good in math.
Oh, okay. But you somehow managed to be ahead of the curve on all these technical advances in technology. And so then you moved to social media, obviously having a big footprint in it yourself. And what are the biggest drawbacks of being on social media and getting into it for the first time?
The biggest drawback is thinking it's bad, and that's just mean things. If you navigate it well and you learn your blocking tools or your muting tools, or you learn on Facebook how to help your business, it is so exciting. Or that you can reach around the world and communicate. That is the best thing. To block getting on it is just having the courage to go up to your computer and press the button to turn it on. It's very simple. It's almost every social media platform has the same thing. What's your name or what's your password? Now you got an account. Okay, put a picture up, and then you load a picture. So it's really, really easy, and they're all pretty much the same. They have slightly different functions. Facebook, of course, lets you talk as much as you want, big space, and you can have communities of your friends and see what your high school kids are doing. Don't brag, though, on Facebook. Your high school friends will hate you. And Twitter is just it's like a fire hose of information. It's just very fast, and of course, limited amount of information. It was 140 characters. Now it's expanding to 280. But even you look at something like Instagram. They don't. Instagram is for pictures. You're not communicating with text. So each one is slightly different, has slightly different function. And teenagers tend to be on Snap, so you better know what Snap is. That's another. So they're all slightly different. Unless you can't tell the difference between them, and I think that's confusing. Unless you sort of sit down and look at each one separately.
And you have a thing about creating a custom URL. Tell us about that.
Well, can I just go back one second to
sure.
The whole thing about social media is that people it's a little bit like politics, as you take your position before you research it. And people are now hearing so many bad things and reading we in the news put the kid who bullies another kid or something. There are very few stories that are sort of heroic. And in my book, I talk about sort of this crazy instance where someone almost was drowning in North Carolina and used social media to be able to find his rescuers. It's a crazy story, but we need to see sort of the good stuff with social media, not sort of the salacious and horrendous headlines.
So Greta, everything you need to know about social media without having to call a kid. It's fantastic. We're almost out of time. In 20 seconds, tell us about your app.
All right, go to the App Store and look for the Sorry app. You do it from your phone. What I do is trying to get the Sorry app. Just go search that, download it. It's free, and you'll see apologies there. You get to apologize. Some are funny. My dog apologizes for shredding my mail. Some are serious, and they can either do very public ones or you can send private ones to a particular person. And we're going to have Throwback Thursday apologies soon. We all get to vote on the apologies that are public. And on Throwback Thursday, I'm looking forward to putting up like Clinton with Lewinsky and his apology, and everyone gets to vote accept or reject, or any politician or any
hilarious.
Kathy Griffin. On Throwback Thursday, it's going to be a ball. We're all going to vote, and people get to see whether apologies are accepted or not. So the Sorry app, but you have to do it from your phone.
Okay, the Sorry app on the phone. We'll put this up on lauraingraham.com. People can download this onto your phone. It's a really fun idea and can actually help a lot of people. Greta, come back soon. Everything you need to know about social media without having to call a kid. It's our featured selection on lauraingraham.com and on Facebook. Greta, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon. We'll take a break. 855-40-LAURA. A lot more to get to, including some Huffington Post news, which I hope is not true.
For me, the judge has 24 hours. You must immediately and fully come up with a satisfactory explanation for your inconsistencies that I just showed. You must remove any doubt. If you can't do this, then Judge Moore needs to get out of this race.
You are listening to The Laura Ingraham Show, 855-40-LAURA. Do you agree with Sean Hannity there? You got 24 hours. That's like the OK Corral.
24 hours to get out of town, Judge Roy Moore. Remember there was a movie?
Oh, yeah.
Judge Roy Moore, my friend Stacy Keach.
Right.
Yep.
You got 24 hours, and it's over.
Right.
If you just had to guess, putting aside the drama of all this, and he's a Republican, he's a Christian conservative, do you really think he's going to stay in this race? 855-40-LAURA. Let's just for fun, just conjecture, guess. Will Roy Moore fight to the finish, regardless of the fact that like almost nobody is standing with him, except maybe his supporters in Alabama, the Republican Party in Alabama? I don't know how long they're going to be able to stay with him either. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. 855-40-LAURA. Just prediction, just fun prediction, and a short why. 855. You are listening to The Laura Ingraham Show, 855-40-LAURA. The pressure on Roy Moore to step aside, to step down. It's building. There's no doubt about it. The outcome for the GOP in Alabama, I don't see how it's good. I mean, I don't see how you marshal a write-in campaign. The Alabama GOP would have to launch a massive advertising campaign now and urge people to vote for one candidate. And we have a question, as the Secretary of State said yesterday, John Merrill, on the Ingraham angle. He said people don't remember. They have to remember that Thousands of absentee ballots have already been cast. They've been voting since October. Now, I don't know how many ballots, but it's beyond just military, deployed military. It's a lot more people than that. So that's a question. But we can't just focus on one Senate race. We have other big stories out there, including we're going to get to what happened with this testimony of Jeff Sessions yesterday in Congress, and why, or should, an independent counsel, a special counsel, I should say, there is no independent counsel statute, be appointed. I threw out this question, and I'm going to throw it out again, just as a matter of gut. It's kind of fun because then we see how accurate our predictions are. Will Roy Moore step aside before this December 13th election? 855-40-LAURA. He says no, I'm going to fight to the finish. And he spoke, as you heard, he spoke last night and said this is a spiritual battle, and I'm not going to step aside. There's just no way. Not going to do it. Mark in Texas, prediction, Mark. Yes or no, will he step aside?
If he's innocent, he won't step aside. Never give up to slanderous people.
Tommy in Virginia. Tommy, will he step aside, yes or no? Put yourself in his position, too. I guess at this point he probably has nothing to lose. Go ahead.
I don't think he'll step aside because he's a fighter like Mr. Trump. And then, too, I think it's up to the people in Alabama on whether whether they vote him in or not. And then I was listening to Hannity last night. Hannity says he got 24 hours to get out because something about the yearbook that he signed. But that doesn't prove that he's guilty. I don't, to me, I don't see whether it proves that he's actually guilty or not.
Yeah, well, I think we have to remember that it's impossible to prove or disprove charges from 30, 40 years ago. There's just no way. You can't do it. So you just have to say, okay, well, this isn't a legal matter. It's a political matter. Do these women seem credible? Now this last woman's, was it stepson, Raymond? Who came forward on a YouTube video?
The stepson of the latest accuser, Roy Moore, came forward, that Becky Nelson.
Can we hear this again? Let's play this. Because
this is Darrell Nelson.
Darrell Nelson. And he's a good old boy. And he does a YouTube video.
Never mean and no harm.
Yeah, let's let's listen to this.
I found out that my stepmother was one of the ladies that's accusing Judge Moore of an act that supposedly happened when she was a teenager. Mr. Moore, I support you. I don't believe the acts that she claims you've done. I don't believe it. I've known her for a while now, and I truly do not believe that she's being honest about this.
Well, how does he know? By the way, the Washington Examiner has just retweeted an old piece by Byron York, and it was an old column by Byron, Joe Biden's woman-touching habit. And this is from February 17th, 2015, where you actually have Joe Biden with his hands on the shoulders. He loves putting his hands on the shoulders of women.
The shoulders?
Well, and he's whispering.
Oh.
He's whispering in the ear of Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter's wife, Stephanie, at Carter's swearing in. And he was looked like he was whispering sweet nothings into her ear, and she did not look comfortable.
Lord, he's always feeling it. Those poor little children, women. Now, there's a new story that I read a little earlier, Breitbart has it, that a Secret Service agent is coming forward and saying the VP's house and particularly photo ops at Christmas time were no-go zones for women because the vice president would get overly familiar with the ladies, engaging in some of the things that have been alleged about Pappy Bush, George H.W. Bush, where women were, you'll recall, accidentally bumped into his wheelchair and his hand accidentally made 1,000 points of contact with their derrieres.
Raymond has renamed the HW initiative as 1,000 points of contact versus, remember his, all right, we got the 1,000 points of light with all the volunteers in the country. It's his hands fall into the laps and onto the tushes of women. Apparently, it's just he has an involuntary reflex.
It's on the arm of the wheelchair, and the women back into him. I'm sure that's what happened.
Yeah, and so they come to him
right
to give a courtesy kiss on the cheek, and when they do that, they knock into his arm on the arm of the wheelchair,
and they get a little more than they expected.
And his arm involuntarily, for some reason, always gets stuck in the back of the wheelchair and then squeezes.
Well,
does he have an involuntary reflex?
Maybe that's what it is. Every time
thumb to forefinger. Does it go like that?
Well, and he said it's just his office issued a statement where they said it was just a good-natured grope. I guess they didn't use that terminology, but he tells them apparently the same joke. A number of women have testified that he tells them the joke about, come on, it's like being near David Copperfield. Oh no, this man.
The worst sense of humor. Oh, but we can excuse that because he's in a wheelchair. Really? Is that the new rule? New rules. That's the new rule. If you're in a wheelchair, you can grope people.
Well, and you've got Barbara Comstock, Jackie Spears saying that there are active harassers among their colleagues on the Hill.
There's one
These men will be discovered.
Oh yeah, there's one sexual abuser.
One
or one in each party. They said, at least. But why don't they come forward? And then these female congresswomen are saying, I guess female congresswomen, by the way, would be a redundancy. These congresswomen, thank you, say they don't want to reveal who they know who've made them uncomfortable. I am woman, hear me snore. I mean, what do you mean? What happened to the roar? The roar of women. You're up there and you've made it to the top. You're in the House of Representatives and the Senate, and you're not going to step up and name names? Really? Who's enabling the behavior? And I'm glad that we now all know about this $15 million shush fund that the taxpayers fund to pay off these settlements. We talked about that last night on the Ingraham angle. But had you ever heard of this before, Raymond? Had any of you listening heard that taxpayers actually pay to settle harassment and other misconduct claims that are filed against sitting congressmen and women and people in the Senate, House? They get these complaints filed. There's a period of mediation, forced counseling. The victim has to go through forced counseling, and then oftentimes they're paid out. Now, $15 million, just $15 million, is, I guess, not a lot of money, but it's money.
Sure is.
855-40-LAURA.
Your money. It's your money.
Yeah, it's your money.
I mean, the difference here is if you, in private life, if you engage in this behavior, you are on the hook. Right. You have to get counsel, you have to defend yourself, and you have to pay settlement or restitution or go to jail for your actions. If you're a congressperson, Congress will pay your hush money for you. The settlement is paid for you. And there's no penalty to the abuser or harasser here. That's the other piece of this. Because it's confidential, a settlement is made. The guy, mostly guys, get off scot-free. That's concerning.
855-40-LAURA. I want to hear from you. Will he step aside or will he not? And do you think some of these female Congress people are, by not identifying who these men are who have done this, are part of the problem? Name names. These people shouldn't be in the House of Representatives or Senate. Pauline in Indiana. Go ahead, Pauline. Welcome.
Yes. Welcome, Laura. Yes, I do believe that he did it. I've been through that before. I know other people that's been through that before. And there's no way you will step up unless it really happened. It's devastating, and you just don't want to step up. You don't want anybody to know. So I really believe he did it, and I don't believe he will step down because I think that's the kind of man that he is. And I did vote for Trump, and I'm a conservative.
Okay, so good. We now see that maybe the tide is starting to turn among the Laura Ingraham show listening, audience. I want to hear from you about the Ingraham angle, too. Raymond, I've been meaning to do this with our listeners. Mm-hmm. What do you like? What do you not like about the show on Fox? 855-40-LAURA. We've 2 weeks in. We've 2 weeks and 2 days. Every time we walk into the studio, it's another one down. But it's interesting. You really learn a lot taking on a new endeavor. And you guys are my extended family across the country in radio, and I really mean that. You mean so much to me, and your views mean a lot to me. So I'm really curious as to what you think about the TV show. What would you like to see more of, less of? Critique the performance. I'm happy to hear it, and not happy always to hear the criticism, but, I'll hear it. I'll take it. Believe me, there's no one more critical of me than me. Than I am critical. I'm very critical of myself. So I want to hear from you about the show. Have you watched it? Please DVR us if you can. If you have a DVR, just go there and do a series record so you can watch us. And having coffee in the morning, check out the open, the close, as much as you can. Would really appreciate it. And I really want your sense on what do you think about the show so far on TV. 855-40-LAURA. Let's go to Richard in Pennsylvania. Richard, welcome.
Good morning, Laura. I believe that Judge Roy Moore will not step aside, and I heard on the news last night that the forgery of the yearbook is a forgery, and I think he's being set up.
You think it's a setup and the yearbook is a forgery? Well, it could very well be. I mean, when you start getting into handwriting analysis in a senatorial campaign, that's kind of a sign that it's not a good deal. And lie detector test, senator. But okay, this is another good question. If Roy Moore were a liberal, pro-abort, pro-transgender in the military, pro-immigration amnesty, throw it all into the mix. If he were a liberal, would we be seeing the incessant coverage of this, number one? And would the Democrats be urging him to step down? 855-40-LAURA. Interesting question. And
coming up, Maxine Waters and believe it or not, I'm not going to ruin it, but Democrats have come forward today on Capitol Hill, and they're doing something historic.
It starts with an I and ends with a T. Don't go away. You should be impeached too. I mean, does she wake up saying the word impeachment? I mean, she is the eye brain. It's impeachment morning, noon, and night for Maxine Waters. But she is a folk hero now on the left.
Well, but this is...
If Roy Moore is a folk hero in Alabama for taking on Mitch McConnell, who's worse, Roy Moore or Maxine Waters? I mean, that's a good question. I mean, we have our people that are, could be considered a little bit off the wall, no doubt about it. But if you take the off-the-wall people in the Republican Party versus the off-the-wall people in the Democrat Party, I think the Democrats win that contest. They win the Lunatron contest morning, noon, and night. You got Maxine Waters. You got Barbara Lee. You got Rhinestone Cowboy. By the way, I could bring a prop out on the show tonight. I have a prop we're just waiting to be deployed tonight. Okay, so a couple things on the table. Number one, this is Share Feelings Wednesday. Share your feelings about the Ingraham angle. If you've watched the show, and shame on you if you haven't, but if you've watched the show, what do you think? How is it? Do you like it? Do you like the mix of guest topics? Do you want to see more of something? I know I can't change the time slot, folks. So don't call in and say it's too late for me. So I'm in bed by 8:30, Laura. Well, okay, I'm sorry. I can't change the bedtime.
Why God made DVRs for you.
It's why God made DVRs. My VHS is still on 12, flashing 12. I can't get the tape in.
Call Greta Van Susteren and she'll help you.
Yeah, Greta with her new book, Everything You Need to Know About Social Media. So I do want to hear from you on that. 855-40-LAURA, and will he step aside?
But this was a Glamour magazine, believe it or not. Award ceremony. Yeah, they were giving Maxine a special award, and she, of course, can only say one thing.
Let's listen.
Impeach 45! Impeach 45!
This went on and on.
Doesn't rhyme.
This went on and on. She just kept screaming into the microphone all night. But apparently someone is listening, because on Capitol Hill, just moments ago, 4 Congress people have come forward and
I'm just going to guess the names.
Yes.
Okay.
They presented articles of impeachment against President Trump.
Let me guess. It's Luis Gutierrez.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. Barbara Lee.
No.
Shucks. It's got to be Maxine Waters.
No,
What?
it's amazing. So she says she's all for impeachment, but only 4
we're way
Democrats have signed on to
Are we
this.
out of time, James? Oh, we got 20 seconds. I have a little trouble with the time. Oh, by the way, last night we had just a little problem with a few technical issues. It's a live TV show. You're going to have technical problems.
What are you going to do?
Kind of fun, though, because then you just have to make a joke. That's when you just do you have to do the Johnny Carson deal. Congressman Jim Jordan took on Sessions yesterday. Why? We'll talk about it. Not one penny. That's how much funding Hillsdale College receives from the government. And you know this, that the vast majority of colleges and universities receive about third or so of their revenue from the government through funding, loans, and grants, and it makes them dependent on the government. And that means you are on the hook to them. That means they can exert all sorts of influence over you. And Hillsdale College doesn't want that. They want to be independent. They want to be an independent voice, so they get to make decisions about how they teach the greatness of America in their history classes and their literature. And they've been doing this free of charge online by giving these free online courses, which is amazing. Since 1844, Hillsdale's been providing a world-class education. And 97% of the students at Hillsdale College get some type of financial aid. We need more schools like Hillsdale. We don't need fewer, we need more. But support the schools that are supporting America. Hillsdale College, they don't get 1 penny from the federal government. Learn more about it. I want you to do this for me. Go to lauraforhillsdale.com. lauraforhillsdale.com. Back on the Laura Ingraham Show, we're going to be talking to Congressman Jim Jordan in just a moment. We have a lot of people on the line. Some of you want to talk about the Ingraham angle now that we've been 2 weeks in and had a chance to get our feet wet. I want you to tell us what you think about the show, the mix of guests, the little bit of humor that we try to throw in there, and everything in between. It's a work in progress. When I started off in radio, the show was very different than it is today. It just changes. You get better, I hope, at what you do over time and learn, and sometimes you make mistakes. Lord knows I've made my share of mistakes. But we're going to try to get the pulse of the people. And this is actually a good question, do you like the idea, which we may do, of taking phone calls on the television show? Larry King used to do this. Remember? All right, let's go to Mabel. Mabel in Cleveland. Mabel. What's on your mind tonight? Well, Larry, I think that Sheila Jackson Lee is the best person in the U.S. House of Representatives. She does a great job. I love what she does with her whole appearance, her look, her charm, her dedication to the people, Larry. And I'm so glad you featured her tonight on the show. Thank you, Mildred. Let's go to Ronnie. This is what he used to do, and it was funny as all get out. It was really funny. I thought about that. Elisa, what do you think about that?
I don't know about that, Laura. I gotta say, not so sure.
Why?
I don't know. I just think, it's a throwback, that's for sure. It's good to hear.
Once a week for 5 minutes.
It's always good to hear the voices of the people.
Maybe once a week for five minutes.
Yeah.
You just try things. I think maybe it's because I love radio so much, and I love people calling in on radio, because I could tell that Trump had a really good chance of winning because I did this radio show for all these years. And so I had a good chance feeling that he would win. Well, and that's what I discern from hosting the show every day.
Yeah, and that's the great part about radio is you get to really hear the voices of the people. So,
and who do we have on the line? Oh, we have Congressman Jordan now. Congressman, I usually, when someone's late to the show, I usually just cancel them. But
you say the heck with it, yeah. But especially when it's a politician, I apologize. I got a couple committees going on.
No, we're teasing you. Speak up though, because we're not hearing you all that loud there.
All right.
So let's make sure we hear you. I have a really important question before we get into what happened yesterday. My question to you is: do you own a suit jacket?
Yes, because you're required to wear one on the House floor. The rules are such and appropriately, so you have to have one for there. But you're always walking around, you'd be sweating. I just don't like to wear it if I don't really have to.
You know what I love, Congressman, is that you're up there in this really important hearing, and Sessions is there. He's getting pummeled by the Democrats. And you're just like a man of the people. You're there in the shirt sleeves, and you're getting in there. And you came on the Ingraham angle the other night. You had shirt sleeves on, and then you got your colleague Matt Katz And he's Matthew, yeah, and he comes on and he's like all buttoned down and serious. And I got Jordan. He's like, I've known you for a long time, Ingram. I got tie and shirt sleeves. I kind of like that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, but just a regular guy. So trying to get a special counsel is what we're trying to get. But we'll see.
Let's talk about that. I'm going to play this. Do we have the exchange, Jamesy? Let's play this for the listeners who missed this yesterday. This was you questioning the Attorney General. Let's listen.
What's it going to take to actually get a special counsel?
It will take a factual basis that meets the standards of the appointment of a special counsel.
And it sure looks like the FBI was paying the author of that document, and it sure looks like a major political party was working with the federal government to then turn an opposition research document, the equivalent of some National Enquirer story, into an intelligence document, take that to the FISA court so that they could then get a warrant to spy on Americans associated with President Trump's campaign. That's what it looks like. And I'm asking you, doesn't that warrant, in addition to all the things we know about James Comey in 2016, doesn't that warrant naming a second special counsel, as 20 members of this committee wrote you 3.5 months ago asking you to do?
I would say looks like is not enough basis to appoint a special counsel.
Congressman Jordan, we had a very interesting segment on the Ingraham Angle last night with two people I respect a lot. Joe DeGenova, of course, a former U.S. attorney in D.C., and Saul Weisenberg, who is one of the smartest lawyers that I know. He was one of Ken Starr's top attorneys during the Clinton investigation, the independent counsel investigation. Yeah. And Weisenberg and DeGenova kind of went back and forth on whether you even need a special counsel here. And again, not to get too much into the weeds of the statute and what's really required, but why are you so intent on the special counsel versus a great prosecutor within DOJ who has a great office, who can really look into this? Or you just think it's so you don't trust DOJ to do it?
Well, no, that's a great question, Laura. And ideally, that's the way it should happen. But I think we don't know what Jeff Sessions is recused from, what he isn't. We don't know who's all in charge of what matters and how it's going to work. So I am just nervous that cannot happen. If it could happen, and I was confident it could happen, you're right. And your guests last night on the show were exactly right. That's how it should proceed. But we don't think it can. I mean, and we certainly don't think Bob Mueller, that special counsel, is equipped to deal with all these questions on, particularly the Uranium One issue. He was FBI director when he failed to inform Congress that all these things were going on surrounding the Uranium One deal. He didn't tell the committee who made the decision on whether that deal could even move forward. So we certainly think he's compromised. If I was confident it could happen, you're right, that's the best way to go, but I'm not confident it can happen. That's why we've called for the special counsel. And things we've learned since we initially called for that special counsel, I think just reinforce the idea that we need one.
Well, the hesitation to really seems like a hesitation to really dig into this. The Fusion GPS, the firm that was used to be as the go-between to get this dossier, and then the fact that it was brought over to the White House, and John McCain helped deliver that over to the White House. I mean, all of this, Comey. I mean, there's so many elements of this that are just disturbing from a layman's perspective. I'm a lawyer, but I'm looking at it like my listeners would look at this issue. It's exactly right. It's a lot to untangle, but there is a lot there.
Yeah, it is a lot to untangle. You got all of what Comey was involved in 2016 when he was investigating and everything else. You got the uranium deal from earlier. But the central issue in my mind right now that is the most compelling and concerning issue is the idea that one major political party can finance Oppo research. The FBI is also paying the author of that research, Christopher Steele. At least that's what's been reported. That was the first question I asked Mr. Sessions, and he would not answer it. But it looks like that all took place. If that is all taking place, and then that is turned into an intelligence document, to then go after the opposition party. You got the government, the FBI complicit with a major national party and a one-party presidential campaign to go after the other party's campaign, their nominee, to get a wiretap on Carter Page. I mean, that is unbelievable if that happened. And so that in and of itself should require special attention in my judgment, because that is not supposed to happen in this country. And it sure looks like it did.
What do you think about this this revelation that most of us didn't know about yesterday, about this congressional fund to pay out claims of misconduct in the workplace, including sexual harassment. I guess $15.2 million have been paid out of this fund. This was set up by Grassley years ago. Congress put these protocols in place for any time an individual works in Congress, has a complaint to file against a congressperson or senator, they have to go through this mediation, forced counseling, and then might end up being adjudicated from within or in a court system. But it seems kind of wild to me that everything's confidential. We don't know who is accused of what. I mean, do you support this shush fund, as it's being called?
No, frankly, I had no idea that it existed. I'm like you. This seems like
wait. You didn't know this
concern.
fund existed, Congressman Jordan?
No, I didn't. I didn't know that was how it worked. Just did not know. And I know Jackie Spear has been talking about this issue, and she has some legislation that I think that makes some sense. So, we'll go from there. But I did not know about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like floored that there's different rules in place for Congress than there are for people in a regular workplace. I mean, why does someone have to go into forced counseling? What is that all about?
This is what that whole theme is something that just drives Americans crazy. One set of rules for we the people, and a different set if you're the politically connected like Hillary Clinton, or a different set of rules if you're in a member of Congress. It should not be that way. It's equal treatment under the law, and that's the way it should be. So of course Americans are going to be upset by all this. I mean, I think back to the issue we first started on. This is why I think most Americans, at least in the 4th District of Ohio, when I talk to them, say, there should be a special counsel because people need to be held accountable, and there should be one standard. It's called equal treatment under the rule of law, and that does not seem to be working right now in certain situations.
A couple of other issues I want to touch on. There is a lot of concern in the Republican Party today, especially from the leadership, that Roy Moore in Alabama, should he still win this, stay in the race, win it, and come to Washington, this will be an albatross around the necks of candidates in 2018 up for House or Senate seats, especially with female voters. It will really be tough for Republicans to have to answer more questions about this and so forth. Do you think that the problem right now with congressional approval rating rests more with something like a Roy Moore's accusations, or more with what the Republican Party has kind of done to its own agenda and the Trump agenda?
Well, I mean, look, the allegations are very troubling, very disturbing, and obviously need to be taken serious. And the truth needs to, we need to get to the truth here. But I do think, and I say this all the time, the concern most Americans across this country have with Congress is we're not doing what we said. I say this, I've said so many times. Our job is pretty basic. Our job is pretty simple. Do what you said you would do. Do what you campaigned on. The voters elected you in your district. They gave you the privilege to come serve them and their families and their business. And you established a contract with those voters when you campaigned on certain things. You said you were going to do certain things, and they elected you to do that. Let's focus on getting that done. And frankly, right now, we are not getting that done. And that, I think, is a big frustration because I hear that every single week when I'm home in the 4th District of Ohio as well.
Yeah, and I think, again, the Roy Moore thing is just taking up so much oxygen. And I think Republicans, ought to be careful not to look like they're scapegoating him to try to, somehow avoid responsibility for what they have not accomplished. He wasn't there when people didn't pass Obamacare repeal. He wasn't there when we didn't really enforce immigration laws and fight for enforcement of immigration laws and support the Trump agenda. I mean, he didn't do any of that stuff. That he might have done some other things that are really bad, but the idea that he's the big problem for the Republican Party, I think that's just lunacy.
Right, you're right. He may have done some very bad things, and that's certainly allegations, and that's all serious and very disturbing, and those need to be thoroughly examined. But you're also right in that, look, we haven't got things done that we need to. Now, the good news is It looks like we're going to get the tax bill done and actually cut some taxes and do some things that are pro-growth and going to help our economy grow. And it also looks like now the Senate has announced that the individual mandate repeal, which is at least a partial dealing with the Obamacare issue like we promised the voters, is going to happen. That is a huge win as well. So let's hope we're getting things on the right track here and actually accomplishing what the voters sent us here to accomplish.
Congressman Jim Jordan, we really appreciate your efforts.
You bet.
Really just thank you for being out there, and thank you for trying to get answers on these important questions, for just doing your job. We really appreciate it.
For all you're doing. Your show is off to a great start. You're doing a great job. Take care.
Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving if we don't talk to you. We'll take a break on the Laura Ingraham Show. When we come back, you won't believe why one woman was thrown off a flight recently. Now, I personally love piglets. I think they're among the cutest and sweetest of all animals. Have you ever spent time with a little piglet?
No, but I'm definitely getting you one for Christmas.
Oh, my God. I love mini pigs. The mini pig is one of the most noble of all animals. The pigs are great pets. The mini pigs are great pets. I love it. Everyone knows I really shouldn't even be doing this job. I should be working in a game reserve because I love animals. I mean, when I retire, I'm going to go work in Africa at a game reserve. I just love animals. But now, Elisa brings this to my attention that apparently a woman has been kicked off a flight after her emotional support pig became rowdy. Well, how much more rowdy could the support pig be than like any average drunk conventionaire on a flight? I mean, how many times have you seen people on flights drinking like fish? James, you ever seen that? Drinking like fish at 11 o'clock in the morning, drinking Jack Daniels.
It's like it's allowed. It's like all of a sudden the rules don't apply once you're on a plane.
Oh, there are no rules. Yeah, I'll have another. And I can't help it over here. You could smell the booze coming from the row in front of you. But so I'd take a pig sitting next to me any day versus some of the individuals I've sat next to.
Well, passengers were not so happy. It was running up and down the aisles.
Like little kids are allowed to run up and down the aisles. Why can't a pig? As long as he's wearing a diaper. Do you support the emotional support animal trend in flying? 855-40-LAURA. I could use an emotional support animal right now.